You told me you started your business at 23. How did that work?
I have always been creative. I've grown up in a very creative family. We grew up playing music. We grew up learning how to talk in front of people. In this context that now, when I look back, I think that was really helpful for me in what I do in my business now. I learned how to present. I learned how to talk to people who were different from me, who were older than me or younger than me. And I learned how to wing it and like make it up as you go because things didn't go to plan. So many of those things have given me an edge in business.
Welcome back to another episode of Before We Hit Record. And this time, I'm sitting next to Laura Higgins. She's the host of the My Business Playbook podcast and a business coach for creatives. Don't make me laugh now. And she runs a 17-figure business she runs a 7-figure business that she started back in 2017 when she was 23. And the first time I mixed that up, I challenged her, like, what is the number? What is the number that has 17 zeros behind it? And then we started talking about the math geniuses who can multiply the heck out of any number in their heads instantly. Laura, it's good to have you on the podcast. Hi.
QUÄY.jo, I am so happy to be here. And let me tell you, a 17-figure business, yeah, my brain can't really compute what that would be, but maybe that's the new goal. Who knows?
Who knows? In like 80 years from now. Like, I'll just go say what my kids are saying. 80 million years from now, maybe everybody will make a 17-figure business because of inflation or however it works. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT while we're chatting. If you're listening to this episode, the reason we have these before we hit record, get to know you episodes are because I'm just so lonely here in Mexico, and I want to know all the people that I'm meeting, and seeing their faces online. That and as online course creators and online membership owners and online entrepreneurs, I feel like from podcast to podcast, it's as if the people that I'm listening to, at least, they seem like one dimensional. And I know, like, behind the screen and behind the successful business, right, Laura, is like a living, breathing human with hopes and desires and things that they don't like and things that make them laugh. And some of them are probably running 17-figure businesses. And I would like to interview one. So if you're listening to this episode for the first time and my face is new to you, well, hi, I'm QUÄY.jo. I'm the new host of the Art of Online Business podcast. And if you want to know where Rick went and what he's doing, there is a link below where you can see Rick. He'll tell you about all the cool AI things he is into. Same Rick, same great online business insight, and just now helping online course creators and entrepreneurs use AI, leverage that in their business to reduce overwhelm, increase impact, and increase profit. And of course, this is the first of 2 episodes with Laura, so you can click below to the second episode where she is going to share some very good... Laura, what are you going to share? We didn't actually cover it.
I don't know what we're going to share. We're going to talk about business, being creative. I don't know. We can go wherever the heck you want.
It's a mystery, but when you get a chance to listen to somebody who has a healthy 7-figure business and coaches people, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Now we can get into the conversation where you and me get to know each other. First of all, thank you for being here, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me. QUÄY.jo, you came on my podcast, and it was such a fun conversation that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to hang out with you again. So this is just fun. So thanks for having me.
So, I mean, since when we were not hitting record yet, and we were thinking about hitting record, and you told me you started your business at 23. You were in university at the time? How did that work?
I was a university dropout. So a bit of my journey has been, I have always been creative. I've grown up in a very creative family. We've all played music. I was in a family band at one point, and we traveled all around the US, all around Australia.
Whoa.
And yeah, so my 3 sisters and myself, and My two elder sisters, their husbands were also in the band. So it was like kind of Von Trapp family vibes. It was like country folk music. It was a whole heap of fun. And so we traveled on tour buses around the Midwest. We played South by Southwest one time.
Well, you were big.
Oh, no, we weren't big.
Well, you said you toured around the US and the continent of Australia.
Yeah, yeah, but like, I mean, we didn't make any money. I remember when we when we finished up the when we finished up the band, we were like, cool. So like, we're all shareholders in this company. We finished up the band and we were like, my elder sister, had kids and it just got a bit tricky to keep going. So we finished up and like at the end of the day, we were like, cool, like, let's split up the profit. And we each walked away with like $400 for like 5 years of hustling and grinding. So I mean, it's not why you make music anyway, to make money, but it was a heap of fun. Unless you're Taylor, which maybe she might be making 17 figures. We don't know.
We don't even know what 17 figures is.
Oh,
You
I
keep
looked it
talking.
up.
Oh, you did?
It's 10 quadrillion.
10 quadrillion. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you more questions about your band because I wanna know, like, did you play an instrument or did you sing? But hold on a second. I was on Instagram and because I'm into personal finance, and I was swiping, and this one personal finance account came up that I follow, and he was attempting in a, like, what is this called? Oh, come on, the carousel graphics to show just how much money, like, Elon Musk makes. And so like I think you had to swipe like 10 squares over, and like the first square was like, this is how much these companies are worth. And they're like, big name companies that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange or something. And you keep scrolling and he's like, and this is how much money, like, I don't know, 18,000 of these jets would cost. And like you're only on square 3 and you're like, holy crap. And you just keep scrolling and he's doing in all these creative ways expressing how much money just isn't equal to even like a half of the amount of money that Elon Musk has. And so I wonder what number did you say? Something quadrillion?
It was 10 quadrillion is 17 figures. And ChatGPT says, this is an extraordinarily large amount of money.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be there soon. So your band, what first of all, that's intriguing that you were even able to how did you vacation from life to tour around on 2 continents? First of all, like how'd your parents pull that out? That is cool.
I would have been, I think I would have been 17 when we started the band. My younger sister would have been, yeah, she was 15. And my two elder sisters, they would have been 20, 22. And so pretty much we just like, I don't really know how we pulled it off, to be honest. Like, I think we would get paid a little bit to do gigs and we'd figure out how to make it work. But it's interesting because we all grew up in church, where I'm a pastor's kid. So like
Okay.
growing up in church,
I grew up in church, though not a
you grew up
pastor's
in
kid.
church. Yeah. So like,
Kind of.
well, it's this weird thing, and I don't know if you found this, but like, particularly if you grow up in a Pentecostal church where every week there's like music and there's like kind of a service and there's someone in like delivering a sermon, which kind of feels a little bit like a keynote in a lot of ways. And it's interesting because I grew up around that, and my dad was always the one who, like, he was the preacher and the pastor, and our family was always involved in the music. And so we grew up playing music. We grew up learning how to talk in front of people. We grew up in this context that now when I look back, I think, oh my gosh, that was really helpful for me in what I do in my business now, because I learned how to I learned how to present. I learned how to talk to people who were different from me, who were older than me or younger than me. And I learned how to wing it and like make it up as you go, because things didn't go to plan. And so I think so many of those things have given me an edge in business, because I've been able to, and performing, in the band, it also gives you an edge because you're like, oh, I know how to hold a room, or I know how to stand on stage and be confident in front of a crowd of people. And so there have been moments where in my business I've been like, I don't know how I've ended up here, but I feel comfortable for the most part in front of large amounts of people because I've been doing it my whole life. So it's this weird kind of mixed bag of, I think musicians have a really special ability to create and to perform. And I think for me, growing up in church as well, it gave me this experience and this depth to be able to go, all right, how do we run this? And especially being a pastor's kid, there was a bit of like, you had to, you kind of owned it in a lot of ways. Yeah, yeah, there was a bit of pressure, but it's also this like you own it, and you feel responsible for it. And so there's this like, uh, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just helped me in more ways than I realized when I started my business, for sure.
Wow. Okay. I did not know any of this. Like, we're just really getting to know each other. So my dad was a minister, not a pastor of a church, but a minister. And so I guess when I was younger.
Oh no, I was just saying, wow, that's really cool.
Oh, wow, I heard when. I was like, well, I think I think he was ordained when I was 7 years old. So so technically I did too grow up in a Pentecostal church. So my dad's from Ghana, and he was so as he was sharing with me about becoming a pastor, like, he's telling me he's from Ghana, and I never really had context for this because even though my name is QUAY.jo and, it is a Ghanaian name, I was raised in the States, and so I know nothing of Ghana, right? And, and that was until I went to China. So, then I was a lot well, kind of closer to where you're at in the world, at least closer to the same time zone, and there are still tons of Ghanaians over there because China gives scholarships to, like, the best and the brightest, uh, people from different countries in the continent of Africa to go over to China and, pursue their degrees. And so I'm meeting tons of people from Ghana and kind of just really learning as an adult, maybe like a glimpse, somewhat a sliver of like how my dad grew up. And so anyway, he told me that he was in Ghana and he went to like this Christian event. And I think he said it was like run by Baptists. And he was talking about so the thing that my dad said really struck me because he actually has this ministry where it's a healing ministry and he just goes around and he prays for people. And he has the like I don't know how much you believe in healing, but my dad has all of these stories where it's like he's the guy that people will call in and he'll go pray for cancer and then like the doctor comes in the next day and it's like tumors are gone and they're like, "Well, you need to run a report for this." And so like they're looking at x-rays and it's like it was there, it was here before, and it's gone now, and the doctors are like, what? And so it's like very not just like hearsay miracles, if you will, but documented stuff. And so he was telling me that in Ghana, where he was from, if you wish that I could just hop into your Facebook ad manager and run your ads for you, or at least download all my 3+ years of experience into your ads so that they would run the right way, you pretty much got your wish. There's a new offer that I made, and my clients so far are loving it. It's called Facebook Ads to Success, and that means for you, I can coach you one-on-one so that you can successfully run your lead generation ad campaigns, your launch registration ad campaigns, even your sales funnel, SLO, self-liquidating offer funnel ad campaign. Here's how it will work. We will have 3 calls within 30 days. During that first call, I'm going to show you the exact ways to get your account running optimally. We'll do also like analytics setup if you don't have those set up right so that your ads can function the right way. We'll also look at your funnel and I'll point out to you the areas in your funnel that could be converting better. And I'll make recommendations about how to improve those areas of your funnel. And then if you have running ads currently, we'll look at those ads. Otherwise, we'll go through all the things you need to consider before setting up your ads. In between the calls, you get unlimited access to me. That means on Slack or Voxer or even Messenger, you get to record your screen or just send me an audio messages or type something, but ask about your ads and I'll be able to give you recommendations right there. And then we'll set up the ads and then I'll show you how I check up on ads and all the moves that I would make. I'll walk you through those and teach you how to make those same moves so that you can successfully manage your own ads with confidence. Head to the link that you can see right on the screen to book your spot for Facebook ads one-on-one coaching with me. All right, back to the video. Though he didn't grow up, I guess, knowing God, when somebody came to have like an event, like, so it's my dad. He's like almost 70 now. Could be. Sorry, Dad, if you're listening to this, but he was at like a tent revival kind of event in Ghana, right? And he was telling me he knew, and everybody where he was from knew, if you were sick or something, you would go to like the local voodoo priest, and they would do their things and their chants and their incantations, and sometimes you would get better, sometimes you wouldn't. But like he was very okay with the, let's just say, the supernatural, right? Like plenty of people nowadays are spiritual and they're into different things. He was okay with that. And I never really had context for that until I was in China and just met a bunch of people who, like, culturally, like, they're like, yeah, we got the local shaman. Cool. Okay. And so then when these preachers came and he went to this event, what caused him to decide to follow Jesus was he saw things, like he saw power being demonstrated as people were praying for like other people to get healed that was greater than what he was used to growing up. And he was like, okay, well, then this is legit. Let's go. And so he became an ordained minister, and so many stories could come out of that. But that is interesting that we both grew up in a church.
Yeah, I think it's that. I mean, that's amazing. What a cool story of your dad and your family. I think that's so, so beautiful. And it's this, it's this interesting thing. I feel like when you grow up with a certain frame of reference or a certain, we have these belief systems and everyone has them, regardless of whether you're a Christian, regardless of your background, we all have these belief systems. And I think we don't often hold them out and go, oh, does this kind of informs a lot of how I make decisions. This informs my values. This informs how I show up. This informs how I work. Like it's really kind of amazing to think, okay, this thing that maybe I take for granted because I've always been like this, or this has been my context. I think it's kind of amazing to step back and go, oh, that's kind of rare and unique and has more of an impact than I would potentially think it would. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, we don't really talk about it that much, I don't think.
We don't. And that's why I like having this kind of episode, because we just get to talk and share and relate about like our past and where we came from and what we believe. And it's a really cool thing because that's what we would be doing in person, hopefully, you know. Um, and yeah, for me, I love traveling around the world and I love meeting people, especially like people who came from places that I didn't come from and believe things that I don't believe. Like, I love learning languages for that exact same purpose, because you learn a language and you learn a culture. Like, you can't separate language from culture, and you learn a new lens through which you can see and interpret the world, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, I love that idea of you can't separate language from culture. I think that is such a cool way to think about it. Yeah. That's beautiful.
They have this, so I did linguistics when I was in college, and so the thing about linguists if you're listening and you have a linguistics major, you're like me, and you probably know that you ended up doing something completely different from linguistics. But it's just, what did you major in? You dropped out.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing for me was I started studying communications, so journalism. And I think in my head I loved writing. So I was like, "Oh, cool. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be a writer or I'm going to end up on TV as like a news presenter or something." Um and then I never went to uni. I always just wanted to write music, and so I would skip uni and go write music with my friend. And and then I remember one day I finally showed up to a tutorial and the lecturer was like, "Is journalism even a profession anymore? We don't know." And I was like, "I'm done. I'm out of here." And I never went back. I was like, "I'm out of here. This sucks. Like, what am I doing?" So that was that was like literally it. But you were going to say something about linguistics.
Oh, just a, an example that really impressed me, or was impressed upon me, that left an impression in my brain, was in one of my intro linguistic classes. The instructor was talking about possibly a tribe, not a tribe. Well, I guess you could say, oh shoot, let's Native Americans in Alaska called the Inuits, and how because they are in an environment with snow most of the year, like they have lots of different words for snow, based on how quick, like the kind of snow, like how it packs, how quickly like it melts. There's a ton of different kinds of snow, and they have lots of words to describe it. Whereas I can't even describe with my limited vocabulary the different kinds of snow. I'm like, it's snow. Maybe there's sleet, or there's like whatever you call hail. I don't know. And this is precipitation, but they got all these words for snow, and they see the world in a different way, like than we would, at least for snow. And so it gets cool. Yeah. So back to your story, because you were telling me how you went from touring around two countries, and you said that wasn't super successful, but I'm like, you got to have some amount of success to tour around as a band, like on two different continents, because you had to fly from Australia to the States and back. And I've never been to the continent of Australia. And then you started a business. You started this business. Was it this business, or was it a different one? At the age of 23 in 2017.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So so I kind of was making coffee. I just was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, really. I had kind of dipped my toe into studying at university. I started studying graphic design. I also realized for me, I think I was just trying to find my spot. And I don't know if you've had this experience, QUAY.jo, where you kind of like, I felt like a generalist. I felt like, oh, I'm good at writing. I can take photos. I'd kind of started designing websites for the band. So I was like doing all the graphics and stuff for the band purely because I'd studied graphic design for like a hot minute. And so I just became the person who would figure it out. And so it would have been, I think I would have started working for a coffee roasting company because I was a barista. And then they came in and they were like, "Hey, do you want to come and sell for us? Like sell our coffee to other cafes?" And I was like, "Sure, I could give that a go. I've never sold anything in my life, but why not?" And so I started working for them, and I was really bad at sales. And so again, like my whole journey has been going, I think maybe I should try this. No, I don't like that. No, it's not even going to be a career because the lecturer says maybe it's not even real anymore. I just had this like trying everything and just trying to find my little spot. And I started working for this coffee company, started doing sales. And my job was also to like look after customers, train them how to make coffee. Like there's a big coffee culture here in Australia. So I was training them how to make coffee, all that stuff. And then they kind of kindly pulled me aside and they were like, "Look, the sales thing, I was like so sheepish about selling. I would try to like, I'd walk in with my bag of coffee and be like, "Do you want to buy this?" Like, and then I'd be
Yes
like,
or
"Do
no
you want this?"
question. Or,
Yeah, like what? And I just didn't know what I was doing. And thankfully now I I am good at selling because I had to figure it out. So I but I had this like moment where they pulled me aside and they were like, "Look, we reckon this Instagram thing might be a big deal for business. So why don't we get you in on that? You love writing, you're creative, you're good at designing stuff, you're good at like websites, you're good at all this like little the things that make marketing kind of work. So why don't you give that a go?" And I stepped into that role and that's when I was like, "Oh, I'm good at this. Like I would obsess over like learning about it. I wanted to understand it. I would teach myself how to design websites. I would teach myself how to work social media, how to get new followers, how to create content." And so I very quickly their social media blew up. It all went crazy. They were like, "Oh my gosh, the content's amazing." And I was like, "Cool. Okay, I think I found my spot." And so I had people approaching me saying, "Can you do that for me?" And so I started a social media agency. And that's when I first started my business in 2017. And then it kind of went from there. And there's been many iterations of my business, but I started as a social media manager. And then I would slowly, people would say, "Oh, can you design my website?" And I would say, "Sure, I'll give that a go." "Can you write copy for me?" I'd say, "Sure, I can do that." And "Can you run ads for me?" And I'd be like, "Okay, I'll give it a go." And so slowly it became a bit of a marketing agency and it it really went well and it kind of evolved from there. So I think it's been this journey of a lot of trial and error, a lot of giving things a go, jumping in and being okay with not being amazing on day one and not having to have things perfect. I think those have been the big things that I've had to go, okay, I've got to like, I don't know, kind of, I think almost there's this thing of when you're new at something, you almost have this wonder about it where you're like, "Oh, I don't know how this works. And this Instagram thing is a whole new world and it's exciting and I can be creative." Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, and so that's how I kind of started my whole thing.
That's how you kind of started this, what is now a seven-figure business where you help creatives get to 30K plus months.
Yes. And part of the reason why I moved into coaching and consulting, well, firstly I moved into consulting because I realized managing people's social media, like I was working with winemakers, I was working with people in finance, people in health and fitness, and it slowly kind of I was like, I can't create content for all of these people because it's so varied. Um, and so I moved into consulting because I was like, well, why don't I teach you how to do this? Because social media isn't going away. And so that shift then turned into, okay, I'm going to create a course. Okay, I'm actually going to create a coaching program. And then it evolved into, you know who I really love helping? Creatives. Because when I started my creative business, I was winging it and making it up. And if I had a framework to follow, I could have avoided a bunch of mistakes. I could have grown a whole heap quicker. Um, and so that's kind of where I went from there. And I love what I get to do now because it's so, I can see the impact and I can see how it helps people. And I can see, like, a client of mine just this week sent me a video of her with her keys to her brand new apartment that she bought in Sydney. And she's like, I just did this and it's because you helped my business. And it's like that to me is like why I do what I do, because I think, oh, your business can actually set your family up. Your business can actually impact your whole life, not just be a career that makes you some okay money. Like it can actually change the whole trajectory of your life. Mm.
I just think it's such an honor, responsibility, privilege, all of those and more to get to help others with their online business because we're talking about like you're helping them take their passion or their gift or just their extreme interest and serve other people with that, change their life. But I mean, their business isn't going to be successful without impacting other people. So it's really cool the impact that you get to have.
And but you would find this too, Quajo. There's this like I think it's the magic of what we get to do as coaches, course creators, is that we get to actually see like we get to actually see the impact, and we get to see, oh my goodness, like this person was able to buy a house, or this person was able to take a whole month off without working, and they could hang out with their kids every day. And it's like you get to actually see that tangible stuff. And to me, that's more important than my own, oh, I run this kind of business and I've got this many clients. That's not that interesting to me. I'm like, I think the thing that drives me, and I'm pretty sure it would be the same for you, is like when you see someone get it and you see them put something into practice and go, this is actually game changing and life changing for them. That to me is the magic. And it's not about looking good on Instagram or talking about yourself all the time or any of that stuff. I think it's like, wow, if I could impact a handful of people in my tiny corner of the internet, then that's pretty amazing.
So tell me about impact personally. Like what are some goals that, and he'll have to forgive me. Your husband, when I kept saying Nath because from my neck of the world, that's how I would say it. But or was I getting it right? I think I was getting it wrong.
No, you were getting it right.
Oh, okay. Oof. I thought I was getting it wrong. Okay, cool. So, like, what keeps you guys going business-wise? Like, what are you trying to do as far as, like, personal goals with the freedom and the success that you've built up so far?
For me, it's really I feel like the impact stuff for me is being able to go, okay, first I'm able to help people. I think that's really important to both of us. But so that's kind of like first thing. I think in the online space, I think people get the order of it wrong. They think, oh, I want to build a 7-figure business or an 8-figure business or a 17-figure business. So it's about what I want first. And if I can help people in the process, cool. Like, I don't think anyone goes out to like, I don't think many people go out to like be a jerk in business. But sometimes people get, hopefully not, but sometimes people get the order wrong. They think, I want to build a business that serves me. And so, and that in and of itself is fine. Of course, we want to build a business that allows you to have freedom, allows you to have flexibility, financial like security, all that stuff. Of course. But I think if you want to do that, if you want to build a business that serves you, you have to start by serving others. It has to come from this, like, I want to help this particular type of person achieve this particular type of result. And hand on heart, you're not always going to get it right, but hand on heart, can I say that I like have shown up with integrity, have done my best to serve these people? If you can say yes, to me, that's like, okay, cool, we're on the right track. So I think a lot of people get the order wrong. I think people can, and like, of course, there's a balance to this as well, because you can't, I've also had to go on this journey of like, well, am I responsible for people's results? As a coach, as a course creator, like I would get really stressed if people weren't winning. I would get really like, it would keep me up at night. I'd be worried that people weren't winning. And so that is the serving others to the extreme, where it's actually not healthy, and I can't carry other people's businesses on my back. I have to be able to go, you've got to do the work.
If you're going to that extreme, is it really serving them?
Probably not, hey?
Well, I've been there too, but there's something to be said about it's like, here's the advice, here's the strategies that work, but I can't do it for you, and if I overextend myself to really try to if I go past where I should in order to help you get a result, then what happens when I'm not there? Like, there's an element of you pulling up your bootstraps, so to speak, and taking the stuff that works and doing it, you know?
Totally. And I think we don't want to build courses and programs and services that make our clients codependent on us.
There we go. We don't want to enable them to be codependent.
No, we don't. And I think the thing I've learned more and more as I've coached more and more people is a lot of the time people have the answers. They just need the right questions to kind of pull them out and go, oh, you know what? I know what I need to do. I need to do this. And I know where I'm letting my business down. It's in XYZ area. And then you've got something to work with to kind of serve people better from there. So I think it's this delicate balance. And a lot of people in my world, and I'm not sure if it's the same for you, QUÄY.jo, but a lot of the creatives that I work with, their whole business operates from their like heart. They just love what they do. They don't want to be a jerk. They want to help people. They want to do awesome work. And sometimes they can go into that extreme area of over delivering and not looking after themselves. And so it's this delicate balance of, we don't want to go the other end of the spectrum where it's like me. I don't care if I deliver a great service. I don't care if the course even works. I don't care. I just want to get the numbers. I want to get my launch goals. I want to hit my targets. And if people get results, awesome. That's yuck, right? And we see those people on Instagram. We see them and they run their ads and you're like, oh, this feels icky. So we don't want to be that.
I mean, do we? I hear about, I don't, honestly, I don't see that many, but I guess they're out there and they're just not in the circles that I'm in, which is good, right? We're not in those circles.
No. And I think, and you would find this, you've interviewed so many incredible people, but like people who are truly successful, I think and I don't know, maybe this is a generalization, but the people that I've interviewed on my podcast, and I imagine it's the same for you, people who are truly successful, they really want to help people. And it comes from this service of like, I'm good at what I do. I'm competent. And I also really like love and care for the people that I serve. And so I don't know, what do you feel like, QUÄY.jo, with the online space and where it's at the moment? Like, how do you feel like it's going to go moving forward with so much volume out there? Like, how do you feel like we as course creators need to be showing up?
Well, way to come out of left field with a question for me.
Sorry.
No, okay. I can answer that pretty quickly. I can answer it on the business side because that's just what I see as a Facebook ads manager working with clients. What I see is, for some clients, it's taking longer for people to purchase. Once where we thought, let's call it we can't say during the heyday. People keep saying during the gold rush of like the pandemic. And I feel like that was only the latest time, but there was a period of time before that too, where everyone was enamored with jumping ship from the day job and starting an online business. But what I see for my clients is where before they could rely on a launch, bringing in lots of cold traffic and having these people who were brand new to their business ecosphere go from 0 to 60 in a 45-minute training or webinar class, whatever you want to call it, and buy $1,000 to $2,000 product. We're not seeing as much of that anymore. In fact, like so many clients, after looking at their launch and doing a debrief with them, we're just shifting ad spend back to the tried and true method of the lead magnet and then nurturing somebody into a launch. Okay, but you asked me, where do I think this is going? I feel like it's going to be, who do I connect with the most? Because quite frankly, there's so many people. Like if you're in a niche and you're the only person in the niche, then you're probably in a niche that's not making money. As in now, every I mean, that's how I feel it is. Like right now, there's so many. I'm in the mixer mine, for example, and there's plenty of copywriters and plenty of social media marketers and plenty of business coaches, and there's even another ads manager in there. It's like we're not the only one anymore. And so where I feel this is going is just connection. Like, I have many options wherever I look for somebody who's great at what they do, passionately believes in what they do, and has helped quite a few people. But ultimately, who do I connect with the most? And I guess secondly, who who has their messaging on point and is communicating the best to me. Yeah, that's where I see this going. I don't We're at an intriguing point, and I don't really look to the future as much as I probably should, but I've also wondered to myself, like, what happens as online businesses mature and because like out in the normal brick and mortar world, like after a business is around for 10 years, somebody could buy it, somebody could sell it. Like I wonder how that affects the online business space. Like we're starting to see that. And like maybe it's a bit of privilege I get as like a podcast host and like in this space. Like I've heard already two people now that I've interviewed on this podcast who have sold their businesses, their online businesses, and are doing something similar or completely different. But like, I wonder what happens in the next 5, 7 years. Like, what are your theories on this?
Oh, I feel like it's a really fascinating time. I think there's this interesting parallel too, because what you're saying about connection being so important, I completely agree. And we're seeing the rise of the personal brand, which is really helping people to connect faster. I think it's a really great move for course creators or coaches to lead with a personal brand. The clincher is if you do want to sell, you've got to figure out how to separate yourself and create uh, an asset that is sellable, right?
That's not just built on you.
It's not just built on you. Exactly. So it's like more and more, I think we have to build frameworks that stand on their own. And so even now, like we've got a salesperson working with us and she sells people into our program. I am very conscious of her, not that I'm going to sell my business right now, but I'm conscious of her selling it as, hey, you're going to be working with Laura because yes, you're going to see me. Absolutely. I'm going to be in there. I'm going to be on the coaching calls. You're going to hang out with me. But I also like we have over 100 clients. So there are going to be other coaches in the mix. And so we want to sell the model and the framework, not the coach. So it's this it's this dance of where we leverage the personal brand to get the connection and get people in, and we use our brains to create really awesome frameworks, but the frameworks are the things that do the heavy lifting to get the people the results. Then if down the line you were like, I want to sell this thing, you're selling a framework, not selling Laura Higgins. So I think the other thing is like a good friend of mine, he recently had a huge investor come and invest in his coaching business. And it's game changing. It's like literally life changing for him. And so I think there's also that side of things that we don't even think about. Like, a big investment company might go, you know what, I want to invest in you guys because it's so scalable, it's so profitable. So I don't know, it's a really cool time to be playing in the online space for sure.